What's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode, as you can see, we won another Stanley Cup, so this team is pretty much officially a dynasty if that wasn't apparent already, because we've now won 4 cups in the last 5 seasons. We've also won a buttload of President's trophies. It's just been a very crazy ride for this Winnipeg Jets team, and I wasn't really expecting us to win that much Stanley Cups when I was building up this core so many years ago at this point. But we're in 2038, and we already have 6 Stanley Cups in the series. One of those cups coming with like a lot of the original guys like Connor Hellebuck, Kyle Connor, Nick Ehlers, that type of thing. And then afterwards, we tore it down completely. We rebuilt it really well. We made some really nice trades, and this team managed to win another 5 Stanley Cups after that fact, which is absolutely insane. So hopefully we can continue to build on that, and obviously this offseason is probably going to be one of our tougher off-seasons just because of the fact that we are probably going to have to be trading away some players on our roster to make up room for younger guys again, just like what we did last off-season. So going to be interesting to see what the team is looking like next season and if they're able to go for a three-peat. Now, the players that are in question that could be getting dealt this offseason from our roster include a couple guys. One guy has been here for quite a while at this point, and that is Mr. Philip Grosek. Philip Grosek is one of these guys that have been very good in the series, very underrated, I would say, compared to some of the other guys on the team. He's 29 years old now. He's got 2 years left on his contract out of a bargain of a contract at $6.7 million. However, the problem is, if we look at our depth chart, let me go over to to contracts so you guys can kind of see where I have to kind of probably move him. Is because if we go to left wings, you can see right now Grosek is our best left wing. However, we technically use Aiden Irving as a left winger. There is Esteban Walter, who is definitely proving himself to being a top 6 forward. He's actually listed as a second line forward now as well. So likely Walter will have to take that spot from Grosek. So we probably have to move Grosek because of that. There's also Blunden, who made his playoff debut, and Blunden should be on the third line next season, considering he just came into the playoffs and played a really good series. And then he played a solid series in the Stanley Cup Finals, 7 goals and 11 points in 10 games. He's definitely NHL ready, so we technically need to have both Blunden and Walter in higher roles than they were in the playoffs, which means Grosek is likely on his way out because of that. Also, you have Bulbrook, who probably needs more ice time because he's also listed as a second line forward, so we probably have to get him into a third line role at least as well, which means another probably tough decision. And that tough decision would probably be moving out Mr. Goldman. Goldman is a decent center. He's only 24. He is a pending RFA, so we're basically dealing away his rights. But he's been very good. He was injury prone this season with 45 games played only, but 32 points. He came into the playoffs and was point per game, so he's been pretty good for us as well. Very solid penalty killer, as you can see as well. He had like 3 shorthanded goals a couple of years ago. However, the only thing is just he's going to cost us too much money long term. And we have other guys like Ekholm who definitely deserve a priority in that factor because Ekholm could bring the offense. Goldman is kind of like a... He could bring in the offense too, but he doesn't do it on a nightly basis. Ekholm will do it all the time if there's a good shooter next to him. So, yeah, Goldman's rights are likely going to be dealt because we need to also sign like Hansen. Like, there's some pretty big RFAs in this offseason, so that's why we need to kind of free up some roster spots going forward. And hopefully this team's looking pretty good again next season, and still we can keep it together for the most part. Now, the goalie situation's an interesting one as well. I don't really know what we do. We probably will still run both these guys next season, but we have to think about eventually who's going to be the starter between the two of these guys. Like maybe Bergqvist gets dealt if he doesn't play good in the playoffs again. He was a Vezina Trophy winning goalie, but his playoff performance is tragic. Mills, on the other hand, might be ready to take that spot as the starting guy eventually down the road. So definitely a lot of tough decisions for this team to make. But obviously we should be still a good team next year because we have a lot of the good core members still locked intact into this roster for long-term contracts, which is great. But anyways, that's that. Let's get in your guys' comments now and see what you guys have to say about our second straight cup win in our 4 and 5 years. And then we will get into the draft and re-sign stage and see what kind of trades we could whip up and what our roster is going to be looking like maybe at the start of next season, depending if we make some free agent signings or not, I guess. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, this team reminded me of the 2017 Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup, where they defeated the Predators, but were outshot in 5 out of 6 games. I believe Columbus outshot the Jets in every game, or maybe Winnipeg had one game where they outshot the Blue Jackets. And yeah, we got outshot in quite a few games in that Cup final. We were just lucky that we actually started getting some solid goaltending. That was mostly from Mills, because Bergqvist still was just not doing his job really. But Mills came in and played relatively well in that Stanley Cup Finals for us, and he got a .912 save percentage, so he technically was the better playoff goaltender in that run, which is awesome. So maybe he is the future starting guy. He is actually listed as a starter already too, so it is a little bit weird that we're playing two guys that are listed as starters, so maybe we have to make a decision before next season on who we actually should be playing as a starting goaltender, who gets dealt, or maybe we just hold on to both of them and see who's the better of the two options throughout the season, run the other one in the playoffs, that type of thing. And the last and final comment is from Sano Otaku. Says, this has to be one of the greatest franchise mode runs in the history of EA NHL, and you're not done yet. This would probably be your toughest offseason yet. Ekholm and Bulbrook need to come back. Hansen and Reason could be decent values for the bottom 6. I agree with trading away Goldman and Groshek. The draft is kind of whatever. Sign a new OHL scout. So, yeah, this could be one of the best runs I think I've seen in a while on NHL. I mean, I haven't had a series where I've won this much Stanley Cups, I think. I know in Arizona I won like 4 or 5 in Arizona a few years ago. Can't remember for certain on that. So I won a good chunk of cups there, I'm pretty certain. And then I think in my Vancouver series back in NHL 17, none of you guys probably watched that series, but I'm pretty sure I won like 5 Stanley Cups as well. However, some of them I think were not on camera because I had to do like a recap. So I basically simulated the rest of it off camera. And then I said that I won cups. So nobody knows if I actually won cups, but I actually did win cups. But this series, every single cup win has been in the series, which is awesome. So this probably is my most successful series at this point in time. Now, the kind of crazy thing is not a lot of people actually still watch the series, but it is probably one of the best series I've ran in terms of awards, which is kind of crazy. So anyways, there is that. And I think we are ready to get to this. So first, though, I wanted to make sure, yeah, we do need an OHL scout, right? Because that's what Sarataku was mentioning. We're going to need an OHL scout for next season because ours retired, right? We don't have any. We only have one. So we definitely need a second because the OHL usually has some good prospects in it. So usually like to double stack on the CHL especially. So there is that. And I think we're ready to hop into the draft and see what kind of trades we want to make. Now, another thing that's kind of interesting about this year's draft, I actually forgot to mention this in this episode so far. We have 2 first-round picks because we have the LA Kings first-rounder. We knocked him out in the conference finals. We also have 2 second-rounders, 3 third-rounders, and 3 fourth-rounders, and in our normal picks too. So we have a lot of picks in this year's draft, a lot of junk picks that we don't really need. So aside from just trading away Goldman and also trading away Groshek, we're probably going to look to move like all these fourths and all these thirds, move them up for like future firsts or seconds and stuff like that. Do some pick finessing so that way we don't have to have so much volume in this draft because I don't think it's going to be an insane draft really. So getting some picks for next year instead might be the option with those. Or we could tack those onto a Goldman and Groshek trade, but at the same time we're only going to be probably trading those kind of guys for picks because we don't really need much else. Okay, so let's hop into the 2038 draft and we'll start by trying to move our picks, I guess, because yeah, we'll start by trying to move our picks because I think that'll be easier for us to do right now. So let's go to draft picks and we want to add, I guess, all of our fourth rounders. I do not need those. And let's add 2 third rounders. And let's just go find trade, open block, nothing found. Oh yeah, I might have to actually go to the normal trading thing. Yeah, we're going to have to just go to propose trade, I guess. Offer trade. I don't know who's going to be interested in a boatload of picks, but hopefully we could just move these for picks for next year's draft and hope that next year's draft is a lot better. So we'll add every single one of those to this trade. Anybody interested in all these picks? The Arizona Coyotes. Do you guys have a second rounder for a second rounder for next year? You do have one for this year, but I would take one for next year. Wow, we should be able to get a lot more than just a second out of this trade. So can I get a second for next year and a third for next year? That should be able to get it done, hypothetically. Let's see. That's accepted. Okay, we might have just gave them a bunch of free picks that they actually will take, but I don't really give a shit too much. We're just trying to offload all of our extra stuff. So we got a second and a third for next year. We probably could have got more than that, but oh well. And then we're going to offload this third round pick with, I don't know. Maybe I'll hold on to the rest of these picks. I could try and move up if I want to in this first round. We have 29 and 32. Is there a team that wants to trade an earlier pick? And if there's anybody actually worth moving up to get? Let's take a look at that first. So if we have 29 and 32, is there anybody intriguing before that pick? Let's actually go to 29 for now, or below 29 and see. Hodges, Frolov is before him. Yeah, let's just go this way. Chevier looks okay, but he's 2 years out. Chevier could be intriguing. Hutala as well, but he's 3 years, looks like. Wait, was that guy a goalie? No, was it just a forward? Okay. This guy looks good too, actually, Leclerc. Ooh, Matthew Leclerc, yeah, 2 years out as well. So Leclerc and Chevier could be intriguing. So if we wanted to move up to the 19th spot, what would that cost us? Probably not a lot. We could definitely move up to 19. Buffalo doesn't want to move 19, but I think we could definitely make a deal with them. Detroit's, yeah, I'm going to make their selection. At first overall, they take Charnquist, 78 overall, medium elite. We'll take a look at him in a little bit, because we got to do some due diligence here. See if Buffalo would be actually willing to take some other picks for the 19th overall selection. So they have been good in the past, so this could be worth it for them. So if we gave them 29 and we gave them, let's say 96, and we could give them 64, maybe. How much picks do I have for next year's draft? 3 seconds already. I do have a lot of picks for next year's draft already. Let's give up one of the picks that we literally just acquired. And 2 third rounders and 29th just to move up 10 spots. Rejected. Mostly insufficient. Alright, so would you take then my second round pick at 64? They say that's woefully insufficient. Okay, that's kind of surprising. Maybe they actually don't want to move that pick. And if I moved, I guess, let's see. Let's say my future 4th round pick for next year, since we have a bunch of thirds for next year. Too far off. Okay, so I guess Buffalo is going to be a tough team to move up from all the way to. So let's try and go a little bit earlier than that. Pittsburgh, do you want to move that pick? Actually, maybe I could just go to the trade finder and see what it would cost instead, because the trade finder might work better. And sorry if you could hear my cat meowing outside the door. He's just being very annoying right now. No, we're not moving Mills and Bernarski. Second rounder and Mills, Walter and Backer, no. No, thank you. I'm trying to literally move my first rounder for a first rounder. I'm not trying to move players for a first rounder. Well, I mean, I could, but those 2 players would have to be for future firsts. Arizona does want to move 14, but that's kind of too high up. What about Ottawa? Yeah, let's go to Ottawa here. Let's try and see if we could finesse some sort of thing just to move up some spots. So if I gave you 29, I could give them 29 and 32, but that's kind of outrageous, I feel like. So if I give you 29, 64, and one of my seconds for next year from the Arizona Coyotes, that should hypothetically be able enough to get it done. Too far off, apparently, too. So I think they want 2 first-round picks. So if I gave you 29 and 32 for 17, would that work? Wow, that wouldn't even work. Damn, okay. That's kind of insane. So we might have to still work out something. Carolina's going to make their selection, so let's let them make their selection here. Walderspoon going to Carolina. Another 2-way forward. Let's just take a look at both these guys here. So those are the first 2 overall picks in this year's draft. Surprised Walderspoon didn't go first overall based on his rating and stuff. What could we do? What could we do? This is going to be tough to move up. I feel like a lot of the teams know that that guy is actually going to be decent. So if multiple first for a first doesn't get it done, we have to add something to that to sweeten it up a little bit. Which is kind of crazy that we have to pay that much to move up that much amount of spots, but is what it is. Do we have any prospects I would be okay with moving? Biggs maybe. Kalinen's AHL bound next season. Sutter's not ready yet, though. We have to hold on to Biggs for now, I think. Who else do we got here down in the lower part of this list? Bannister. Bannister doesn't have a lot of value to him. Other guys I don't want to trade away. Tambellini would be okay, maybe. Yeah, Tambellini would be okay to move in this deal, to be honest. Let's add Tambellini to it. And that should be able to get it done. Rejected. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. This is going to be way tougher than I thought just to move up a couple picks. I guess we'll just add another draft pick instead. Because we do have 3 seconds for next year, so let's just add this second from the Coyotes. So we're giving up 2 first and a second to move up a ton of spots. Still insufficient. Wow, okay. I didn't expect it to be this tough to move up a couple spots, or 10 plus spots, but let's go to the trade finder again with the Coyotes. See if they're willing to flip me that thing for something else. Nothing found on an open block. Oh, man. Yeah, this is a lot tougher than I anticipated. What about Vegas? Would you be willing to trade me that 15th overall selection? Take 29, 32, and we'll give you 64 for this year, and then maybe we could add some more stuff if needed. Wow, yeah. Apparently this first round pick is actually more valuable than I was expecting. Who could I add for prospects? Kopecky, maybe? He was a first round pick though, right? Yeah, he was. I don't know if he's going to develop being at 65 at 19, so I actually might be willing to part with Kopecky as Bonino goes to Dallas. Yeah, I think I'm going to part with Kopecky. Even though he was a first-round selection, I don't think I have any use for him, and my defensive core is pretty much good the way it is. So if we do our first 2 first-round picks, and we do Kopecky, who was a first-round pick last year, would that be enough to get it done? That should be. We might be able to get something back also in terms of this deal, like a future 6th-round pick. See if that works. Too far off. What if I take off the 6th? Wow, they're still not willing to accept that. That's actually kind of insane, because I feel like getting a former first-round pick and then 2 first-round picks for a first should be able to get it done, but apparently a lot of these teams just don't want to budge. So that one guy that we're looking at might be unattainable. There's got to be one team that's going to be willing to work with me, right? Maybe they already know how good of a team we are, and they're just like, yeah, we aren't talking to you because of all the cups we've had. Let's try 2 second rounders. So a future second and also the latest, actually our 3rd rounder for this year will do. So 2 firsts, a second for next year, and a 3rd for this year. Just to move up. There we go. So St. Louis accepts that. That took a long time to make a trade. I don't know if we overpaid for that first rounder. Depends on how good this prospect is that we're looking at. But we do now have ourselves the 15th overall selection in this year's draft, which we were looking at taking. Was Mateo Hood, wasn't it? No, it wasn't him. It was, oh yeah, this dude. Matthew Leclerc. So we'll pin him just because he could end up being a small, medium elite kind of guy. He has good attributes. He is lacking size, but he looks like he could be a very good offensive player. I don't think he's a two-way forward, but still, I'll definitely put him up there. Not that we need necessarily more good left wingers on this team, but might as well, right? Anybody else worth taking or trying to move up to get? Probably not. Ooh, this guy was looking okay, but Rocky Fitzgerald, eh? Ooh, this guy looks good too. Pablo Watt, but he's supposed to go 11th overall, 2 years out as a top 6 forward. That makes me a bit worried that the guy we are moving up to get is just a top 6 forward, but If he's a medium elite or a low elite, that would be very nice. So that's what I'm hoping for with our selection. Here's Benino, just in case you guys wanted to see Benino. So there's that. Let's let Edmonton make their selection here. They take DiPietro to defenseman. Jameson DiPietro. All right. And now we could make our trades involving Groshek and Goldman, which should be interesting to see what we could get for those kind of guys. Maybe I should just go to Trade Finder, but I want to just trade them, I think, for picks, mostly. But let's go to Find Trade and see what teams are willing to offer us as well for those kind of guys. So, what could I get for Goldman's rights? Nothing found on Open Trade Block. Nothing found there. What about for Groshek? Will Groshek find me any offers? No. Okay, well, we're going to have to make some moves of our own, because the Trade Finder is not finding us anything, apparently. So, who is interested in a Groshek who's won multiple Stanley Cups with us? Like, I mean multiple. Like, he's won a ton. Yeah, look at how much Stanley Cups he's won with this team. He's won 5, I think. Yeah, he's won 5 Stanley Cups. 148 playoff points. Regular season, 705 points in 808 games. He's been very, very solid. So there should be teams interested in him. Anaheim is not one of the ones I would flip him to, because Anaheim, we've played so much in the playoffs. I prefer to flip him to an Eastern Conference team. We could send him to Boston to play with Eberle, but I would not want him. I don't know if I want to have everybody playing for the Boston Bruins on this team. Carolina. Let's see. Would you give me a future first for next year and a first for the year afterwards, or is that too much value? That's way too much value, yeah. So 2040 first we'll take. We'll take a 2040 second. And that might be able to get it done. That might be able to get it done, which I'm willing to do that, I think. So Groshek to the Carolina Hurricanes for a future first and a future second. Will that work? It will. Oh, wait. So Philip Groshek off to the Carolina Hurricanes. Definitely sucks to trade away him. And apparently he was a star player, but we needed to free up some roster space, and that's how we're going to do that. So he's off to Carolina. And then Goldman might be able to fetch us a future first from a different team as well. The question is, who do I want to send him to? I feel like an Eastern Conference team would be better again. Detroit would be over to salary cap. Because obviously Goldman needs to get a contract from whoever he's dealing to. So we want to trade him to somebody that has actually cap space, like the Florida Panthers, for instance. So does Florida have a future first? Yes, they do. It has a lot of value. Too much value, maybe even. So I might have to add to this trade to get it done, which I probably can maybe do something. But Ruidel going to Toronto is the top 5 pick, okay? Let's try and still work at some trade with Goldman. Definitely sucks to trade away these type of guys, because these type of guys are important to this team, but at the same time, you got to make room for young guys eventually at some point. We've also won a lot of Stanley Cups, so if this hurts us a bit, it's not the end of the world. But we got to definitely make these moves while we have the actual opportunity to. So yeah, the Florida Panthers are loading up on first-round picks. They actually have 3 first-rounders this year, so I feel like they're definitely not a great team. So Goldman for first next year. If we add in our second-round pick for this year at 64, would this get it done? Let's see. Insufficient. Okay, what if I add in a... how much seconds do I have for next year? I have multiple... let's do a second for next year and one of my seconds for this year still. That's not working, apparently. Yeah, it might be tough to get him for a first rounder. Anybody else would maybe give me a first rounder. Montreal would be over to cap probably. New Jersey could probably re-sign him. Do you got a first rounder you could deal away for him? Maybe. Probably not. Let's see. Rejected. Okay, what if I add... what if I add a second round pick for next year? Let's do Boston's because it's probably more valuable. Damn, man. Why do not teams not want to give me their first rounders for Goldman? I think they just know that I'm finessing things. First rounder from the Rangers. The Rangers have been, I think, getting better as of late, so this might be a little bit easier. And I'll give you guys my second round pick for next year. Hey, okay. All right, there you go. Goldman off to the New York Rangers. Another quality player is gone from the roster, but we do get another first round pick. So now if we look actually at our draft capital for next year, we have a ton of picks. Obviously this year we have not a ton of picks, but we do have still our first and 2 seconds. But next year's draft, we have 2 firsts. Didn't I just trade for Carolina's first, though? I thought I did. Oh, maybe that was the year afterwards. Yeah, we did that for a future year for 2040. So we actually have 2 first-round picks in 2040 and 2 first-round picks in 2039. Okay, that's much better. I like this spread it out a little bit. So we'll see if Carolina ends up bad by 2040. So there is our trades, and our guys are gone. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks having to trade those guys away. But like I said, makes sense with the young guys in the system. And it might hurt us a little bit, but hopefully the core stays intact and still could do some damage. So let's simulate to our pick at 16, where we should be able to hypothetically draft that guy we were looking at in Leclerc, which he should be still available, the guys that went before. Looking like this, which makes me feel like Leclerc's only going to be a top 6 forward with a high overall. So we might have made a dumb decision to try and move up, but who knows? Maybe it's a guy that's actually worth drafting. Now, I could draft Rocky Fitzgerald, who's looking actually better. Maybe. A, B, B, C, B, C. I think Leclerc's the better of the two. He's much more balanced. That's what I like about him. Some of these other guys are just like B's and C's and stuff. Yeah, I think we got to go for Matthew Leclerc here. So, Matthew Leclerc, welcome to Winnipeg. 65 overall top 6. Damn, he's actually worse than I thought. But still, 65 top 6 is good. But still, I don't know if it was really worth moving up to get him. We could have probably got something okay in the later stages of the round. But Matthew Leclerc will give us more depth at prospects pool. So that's good. And we'll see if he ends up developing into being something. All right, let's get through the rest of our picks. And see what else we could snag up here. But I don't think there's going to be much more better in this draft. Stan Quint, though. Listed as a gem as a medium 4. We do need more defensive prospects, so I don't mind Stan Quint. There is a top 6 forward as well in Boyce, who's a grinder, but maybe a grinder, but I don't think I need him. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for the gem top 4 defenseman in Stan Quint. And he's a 64 overall. So that's from our trade with the Carolina Hurricanes last year. So that's how we got Stan Quint. We do have another second round pick here still as well. As a medium elite goalie just went. Ted Turnbull going to Columbus. What can we get here with the last pick of the second round? Is there anybody that has any interesting attributes? This guy looks the best in terms of offensive skills, but Yeah, I think this draft class is really not super good. Fitzmaurice. Is there anybody that's actually a low league guaranteed? Oh, there's a medium league maybe in Bohms. Maybe I should take a chance on that guy. I do think I have a pick in the 3rd round though, right? I think we still have 3rd rounders this year. No, we do not actually. After this pick, we don't pick till the 5th round, so I might as well just try and go and see if that guy's medium elite. I doubt he is, but we got to take a chance that he could be, considering he's 3-bar scouted out. So, Keith Bohms, welcome aboard. We'll see if he is the Bohm. Let me actually go through this page. He is medium elite. Ooh, how good of an overall is he? He's probably like a 55 or something. Knowing my luck. 48 overall grinder, Keith Bohms, and he's medium elite. Hey, I'll take it. We don't have a lot of grinders on this team, so medium elite grinder is pretty cool. So Keith Bohms maybe giving us something that we don't really have, which is a physical edge to our lineup. All right. Next pick at 160, since we don't pick till the 5th round. Let's see if we can find any random steals here. I doubt we will, but might as well still take them. There was this guy that I pinned, this goalie that could be low elite, and he was looking okay. So we will take a chance on Toby Phillips here, even though he's not supposed to go for quite a while. Maybe not even get drafted. Low starter. That's exactly kind of what I expected. I think last episode I was saying, hey, he's probably a low starter, not a low elite, because you don't see a lot of low elite goalies. So, yeah. Low starter. That's kind of intriguing, though. 62 overall at 19. Maybe he becomes something at the AHL level, but I don't know if he'll become an AHL goalie. Or NHL goalie, I should say, for that matter. Let's get our last pick done, because I think, did we have our 7th rounder? I don't remember, to be honest, but let's see if we can find anything else here. There is a guaranteed top 9, but he's already 20 years old, so definitely not worth it. Anybody that could be a low elite here? We got Pasi Heinonen. He is actually supposed to get drafted, so we'll take a chance on Mr. Heinonen. Hey, he is a low elite. See, we're still drafting so well with this team, even when we don't have the best picks in the world. It's actually kind of crazy. So Heinonen is a low elite, 52 overall sniper. So who knows, maybe a future replacement for Aiden Irving if Aiden Irving decides to retire somewhat soon. And our last pick of the draft at 224, and the final pick of the entire draft class. Can we find a crazy steal here? Probably not. There is maybe some more low elites though. Pierre Demore, medium elite. Carter Hobbs maybe, probably not. Aiden Rome. Trying to think of who I would take of these guys. Both of them are 19. Yeah, both of them are 19 years old. One's a right winger. The other one's a right winger. Both have no weakness. One has playmaking ability. The other one's more defensive, apparently. Who has the least amount of Ds? It would be Pierre Demore. Pierre Demore looks like he's the stronger of the two options. So let's go with Pierre Demore and hope that he's another low elite guy. He is 19 though, so he's probably not going to be super good, but still we'll take him anyways. So Pierre Demore, welcome aboard. And he's a low bottom 6, I think I just said. Yep. Oh well, still a pretty good draft for our team, considering we've won so many Stanley Cups. We drafted Leclerc, who we moved up to get. We got Quint with the pick from the Carolina Hurricanes that we got in a trade 2 seasons ago or last season. I don't remember it honestly at this point. We drafted the medium elite in Bohms, who is kind of exciting to see how good he could become as a medium elite grinder. We also get Phillips, a low starter, Heinonen, who's a low elite sniper, and then that low bottom 6. So doing still some good work at the draft table, and we have more picks for future drafts as well, which is great because of this Groshek and Goldman trades. All right, re-sign stage-wise. We got to bring back our entire coaching staff as we normally do because our coaching staff has been very good for this team. So we got to bring back Steve Jenkins as an associate. He's going to be very expensive probably, so he might want a head coaching job somewhere, but we'll see if we could hold on to him. And we'll also try and get our assistant coach in Jakob Hansel, because these guys are pretty good coaches to have next to Mr. Vivirios. So we'll do that and see if those guys accept. We also do need to bring back 3 scouts, and we also need to make sure we sign an OHL scout before this episode ends for free agency or whatever. So we'll make sure to do that here as well. Alright, so there is the scouts dealt with. And now we got to do some contract work. This is where it's going to be probably expensive, even though we did just trade away some players. We have 31.59 in cap because we traded away $6 million of Groshek, and also we traded away Goldman, who was going to cost us a lot. So we should be able to effectively assign the rest of these guys that we want on our roster. So let's just get these guys that are wanting two-way deals signed up because they're going to be cheap. So we'll get those guys out of the way because might as well. Then we have the 4 roster players. I'll come to those guys in a second. Biggs is going to want a two-way deal, so we'll sign him up to that. And then we have UFAs. Who do I want to not sign for the UFAs? Lindsay's not going to pan out, so we're going to let go of him. Kerman, same type of a boat. Not high enough potential. We do have Dexter, who's a low 6, but I don't think he's going to really pan out to be anything. He was a 3rd-round selection. He's 20 years old and only 63, so I'll let go of him. Zajac, who's a 70 at 19 as a low 6, is not too bad. He was a 2nd-round selection, so I am going to give him an opportunity considering he is up to a 70 already. There's also Prosser, who's a top 6 forward prospect. We're going to give him an opportunity. Schremp, does he come back for the AHL? Ken Schremp. Oh, yeah, this dude. 25 years old, and he's a UFA. I think I'm going to let him go. Might as well make up some room in the AHL for some of the newer prospects. We do also have a lot of other kind of depth options at the NHL level. The biggest UFA is Scarlett. I am going to sign Kalin into his ELC for the AHL, of course. The rest of these guys are going to be interested to decide on. Reese could be a good depth defenseman. He does want a one-way contract. Mishenko, Hasn't really got the opportunity to play here in the NHL yet. He does want a two-way deal, so if he'll accept a two-way deal, I'll get him to that, just because that way, if we have any injuries or he wants to be a depth forward, he can. We probably have to choose between Greer and Reese. And I think Greer was the one that was in the lineup more last season, right? Or was it Reese? It might have been actually Reese. Yeah, Chance Greer was the one that only played the one game. He's also listed as a top 6 defender. He's an offensive defenseman like a lot of our other defenders. Like Vandermeer's an offensive defenseman. And then we also have the other guy that's an offensive defenseman. That his name is escaping me for some weird reason, and I don't know why. Oh yeah, Goddard. Yeah, so I think I'll probably lean towards letting go of the offensive defenseman Greer, because Reese is a two-way, right? Yeah, Reese is a two-way. So, yeah, I think Chance Greer is going to head to free agency, probably just because he's also listed as a top 60. I can't guarantee him that ice time, and also the fact he's an offensive defenseman. Does have very good attributes like his passing and his shot power, but he's not going to get a chance really here with the NHL team. And he wants only $875, though, compared to Reese's money. But he is 2 years older. He is 2 years older. I just don't like that he's listed as a top 60. So yeah, unfortunately, Greer has got to go, even though he's not demanding too much. We also have Jamal Hurd and Mr. Jimmy Scarlett to decide between as well. All right, what do we want to start with? The UFAs probably make a bit more sense because they're probably going to be cheaper. Reese for 1 year, $16.25 is pretty expensive for a 77, but it's not too bad. What does Jamal Hurd want as a depth forward? $17.25. That's not bad either. That's not too bad. 22 points in the regular season, 5 points in the playoffs. You know what? I'll hold. He's listed as a fourth line forward. Is there anybody that would actually take over his roster spot right now? Because right now our center depth, Ekholm, Bickle, Hansen is the third line center. Hurd would be still fourth liner, but there is Baker who could maybe jump up. If Baker jumps up, there's no need for Jamal Hurd being the fourth line guy. But we do need centers, so I think I will hold on to Jamal Hurd on that type of contract. So we'll give him $17.25. I'll give also Reese the 1 year deal, I think, unless there's somebody that could take his spot as a depth defenseman. Let's take a look at that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's Reese as a top 6, and then we need a 7th D. So we could find ourselves a new top 6 defenseman if Scarlett leaves, but yeah, I think we got to bring back both Reese and Scarlett. So we'll sign Reese up for 1 year. It's a bit expensive. We'll see if he accepts it. And then Scarlett on a 1 year deal. 3.2. He's a bit expensive, but he should be worth the sign. I need to take a look at the RFAs here first and see what they're asking for. Reason should be relatively cheap. $15.75. I could just qualify him to see if he drops his asking price, but $15.25 is really not bad. He is a pending UFA if we give him only a 1 year deal. Akeem Hansen on 3x3 is actually pretty good. He is also still an RFA by the end of it, so I think I'm going to do 2.9 for 3 years for Hansen, because I think as a third line center, that's very, very respectable money. Then he becomes an RFA, and we could decide to trade away his rights, or we could obviously sign him long term. So we'll do that for Akeem Hansen. Bulbrook, what are you trying to get? 5 by 5.575. That's not too bad considering what he just brought, and he's going to be into a higher role next season. 53 points this season. He's been getting better every year. He has some great playoff numbers as well. He's very useful short-handed too as a sniper. Yeah, I think we got to do the 5 by 5 on him. Might be a bit too long term, but we could easily free up cap space, easily move him if we need to. So let's see if I can knock this down to 5 by 5 point. I could try to 85% trick with some of these guys, but I don't really want to push it too much. Let's do 5.3 for 5 on Bulbrook. Now the most expensive one for sure is going to be Ekholm. Yeah. And we're going to probably give him an 8 year deal. We're probably going to. And I'm going to try the 85% trick on him. The reason why is because we don't have a number 1 center if we lose him eventually, so... Because Bickle is kind of becoming not as good as he was originally planned to be. So Bickle would probably be on the way out before Ekholm would be, if we needed to free up cap space. So we'll try and see if we could lock up him on an 85%. at 8 years, which would be 9.6 something, which would be a good contract, I think, for him. I'll give him 9.7 just to maybe make him a little bit more enticed. And yeah, Ekholm has been great, so I think having him signed long-term is something we definitely would benefit from now. A lot of the big important guys like Esteban Walter will be pending RFAs next offseason, so we probably will need to still make some moves in terms of next offseason, but we'll come to it when we get to that point. Reason should be able to come back on this type of contract. 2 years at 15.75. He's a 77. This is a fourth-line forward. How good was he in terms of the regular season? 17 goals is pretty impressive for a rookie that doesn't get a lot of ice time. 5 points in the playoffs. Let me guess he brings a lot of hits and stuff. Not as much as I was expecting, but good takeaway numbers. Yeah, I'll sign Reason on a 2-year deal as well. Might be a little bit overkill to give him multiple years, but I think it should be okay. We could easily flip him. And then we just need to wait a day and see if those guys accept. And then I'll probably give Scarlett a 1-year deal or 2-year deal. He's only 27 and he's won a lot of Stanley Cups. So Jenkins is back as a coach. Unfortunately, Jakob Hensel does not want to come back as an assistant coach. So we're going to need an assistant coach in next episode if you guys could remind me. That kind of sucks. He probably just wants to be a head coach somewhere, which makes sense, though, after all those cup wins. Let's go through this quickly. Any rejections? Mishenko rejected, and an Ekholm and Reason rejected. Okay. Let me just give you what you're asking for Reason in. And an Ekholm on an 8-year deal. What if I gave you 10.5? I know it's a lot more than the 85% trick, but you're worth every penny, probably. Watch, he's going to slack off afterwards or something. Mishenko, I still want to bring him back if I can as a depth option. Let's just give him the 2-year deal he's asking for, 2-way. Let's see if he'll accept it that way. And then Scarlett, we should be able to afford him, so I will give Scarlett a... It says his age is 28 now. He just turned 28. I got to look at when his birthday is if I can in an edit screen. Because it's literally just turned from June 25th to 26th. So if his birthday is actually right around this time, that would be actually kind of cool that he literally just turned 28 and we're giving him like a birthday contract or something. Because I'm pretty sure it literally just said the other day he was 27. But now he's 28. So, alright. Let's give him a 1-year deal. A 1-year deal. And see if he'll accept the $3.2 million. It's a bit expensive for a top 6 man, but I like his play. So, wouldn't be opposed to holding on to him for a little bit longer. He's going to reject it. Reason accepts. Mishenko accepts. Ludwig Ekholm is rejecting. What if I gave you what you're asking for, but on an 8-year deal? That's a bit expensive. Let's go 11.5 for 8 years. I just want to make sure Ekholm is locked up long term. And then Scarlett, can I get you? He wants 2 years. You know what? Take 2 years. Take 2 years. You've earned it. You've earned it. You've earned a little bit of security in the contract. Scarlett rejects. Ekholm accepts. So Ekholm is back on an 8-year deal, which is fantastic. But we are still down to Scarlett to see if he'll accept. He doesn't want the 3.3, so we might have to overpay a little bit on him. But I should be able to flip him away if needed. We are very tight on cap space, though. And we get Scarlett back. We only have 10.89, so you can see why we had to trade away Groshek and Goldman. We would not have had the money to re-sign Goldman as an RFA, really. So all that is good and ready to go. So now we can actually sim to free agency, which is great. I am going to take a look first and see if Scarlett's birthday was literally just the other day. Because if it was, that would be kind of cool. Because I know that they actually have realistic, their birthdays kind of play at like a factor in this game. Because when a player scores on their birthday, it mentions it if you watch it in game, which is kind of cool. So what's Scarlett's birthday? June 26th, I guess it would be, or it's 27th, something like that. Let's take a look at that for fun. Because I don't think I looked at all these players' birthdays and see when they were born. But most of them are pretty much born in like the future, almost, I think, at this point. So Scarlett. Yep, June 26th. See, look at that. It does actually play a factor on the actual calendar, the birthdays. Just in case you guys didn't know that. He was born in 2010. God damn. Imagine being born in 2010. When the Olympic Games were going on or something. Actually, no, that Olympic Games would have been earlier than that, but still. Jimmy Scarlett never got to witness the golden goal. That's actually kind of cool, though. Okay. Okay, let's get to a couple off-season stuff before we look at free agents for next episode. Let's go to coaching staff, and let's go to scouts and find ourselves an OHL scout. Or actually somebody with just a good rating, actually, in general. So we'll go with McPherson, and we will give you a contract. You're going to be an OHL scout for us. So that should be good. Yeah, perfect. And then let's look at some coaching options because we are going to need an assistant coach for next season. And a goalie coach if we want to as well. So let's see what there is for assistant coaches or coaches in general. We could still try and get Hansel back. But there is a better option with like Salvador Mowers if we want to use him as an assistant coach. Now he's looking for a head coach job. But if you guys see anybody that could be our assistant coach, let me know. Maybe even Kubos. There's also Peter Prusek, who's good on defense apparently. So we definitely need to find ourselves an assistant. And then we'll probably find ourselves a good goalie coach if we go to teaching. Oh, yeah, there's one. D-rated, but still. Yeah, we could definitely bring in some of these A+ teaching, more related ones. Okay, so there is the coaches. Final things we need to take a look at: free agents, trading block, and I think that's pretty much it. What do we need on our roster? That's one question I have before we look at free agents, because I don't even really know. We got our number 1 and our number 2 goalie. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders. We kind of need a 7th D-man. And that's why maybe holding on to Greer would have been good, but at the same time, I don't really need more offensive defenders. So we need a 7th defender. That's what we definitely need. We have 4 forwards there. 5, 6, 7, 8 with Mishenko, 9 with Reason. It could be 10 with Timmins, 11, 12. We might not need any forwards, to be honest. Because right now it's projecting 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's projecting like probably Mishenko and Timmins as depth options. Or Hurt as a depth option, depending on things. So I think our forward group is good. Now we have a lot of money tied up on this team. Like, I mean, a ton of money. Ekholm's now the highest paid player on this team. We're going to have to probably make some tough decisions next offseason because the players that are up for renewal, we have to give out big contracts to Walter and Blunden likely. Vernarski's also a pending UFA next offseason. And then goalie-wise, Mills is an RFA, so we might have to free up some more cap space for sure at some point. But we have almost a full roster. I think we only need a depth defender for the season, which is not too bad considering we don't have that much cap space. So let's take a look at what's available anyways, just in all positions in case we want to make moves to free up cap space and whatnot. But the best forward available is Quinton Byfield. Not really the most insane free agent class. There's some good free agents, don't get me wrong, but there's no stud, looks like, on offense. Like, none of these guys would be worth dropping one of our current roster players for. So, those are all those guys right there. We'll go to defense as well. Best defenders in free agency. The best is Blum, who's a medium elite 87 overall DFD. That would be very nice for our defensive core. Troy Blum, he's actually an RFA, never mind. If he was a UFA, I'd be like, damn, that'd be perfect. But we're not going to try and qualify anybody in RFA status. Our former demon, Christian Kairu, is back in free agency. Almost forgot all about him. He was also a big piece to this team for a while before he went to the Leafs for 3 years where he was terrible defensively. Wow. And he hasn't been in the playoffs since he played with us. But if we're looking for a depth defenseman for the upcoming season, we'll probably find somebody that's like a 77 overall. So somebody like Kuhlman could be okay. He's only 27 years old as well. So we'll probably take on somebody like that. Or somebody like Lalonde or Axelson. Yeah, or Rosehill even. Actually, Rosehill's listed as a top 6, so probably not him. Nordstrom. Hey, Thomas Nordstrom. Forgot about you too. We could bring back Thomas Nordstrom as a depth defenseman. Played 2 games with us, had 1 goal. Played in the playoffs, I believe. Yeah, 9 games. I don't know if that's the year we won a Stanley Cup, but we could bring back Thomas Nordstrom as depth. I don't see no problem with that. He's also a right-handed defenseman, which is nice. So Thomas Nordstrom might be the guy. And in terms of goalies, there's some good goalie free agents, but obviously we're not looking for goalies. Stanley King is testing free agency. We dealt him away to... Was it Carolina that we dealt him to? Yes, it was. So that's where we got that Carolina second round pick. He played 2 years in Carolina. Didn't do as good as he was with us, I think. Well, actually, no, he did around the same, I think. And didn't make the playoffs with Carolina at all. And we have Carolina's pick in the next in 2 drafts from now. So Stanley King going to free agency. It'll be interesting to see where he signs. And then Dallas McNeely's a pretty big one as well. We've seen this guy in the playoffs before too. Yeah, he's been a very good Calgary Flames goalie. Hasn't had a lot of playoff experience though. That's the one thing. So those are the free agents. Let's take a look at some trading block stuff just in case there's anything out there. And I think that'll be pretty much it for this episode at this point. But let's see what we got in terms of trading block-wise. DeVries, don't need a goalie like that. We probably aren't going to need to make a trade in the offseason. It's probably just more about getting a roster set up for next season. Like, we literally only need that 7th defenseman, I think. Like, I don't think there's anything I need to upgrade really on this roster. Oh, I forgot about Yakula, too. Tony Yakula, how has he been doing in Carolina? He's been actually doing relatively well. So, shout out to Yakula. If you guys remember him, he played a few years with us. We dealt him away. He played in Buffalo a little bit, played in Pittsburgh a bit, Columbus briefly. But he was also in Carolina, or he is still in Carolina, and he's had some pretty solid seasons the last 2 years. So shout out to Yakula. I do remember acquiring him. I forget who we dealt to get him and some other stuff, but he was definitely part of that rebuild era on this team. So Luke Misa's on the block. All of our former players are out there apparently. That's kind of funny. Not that we need to bring any of them back because we got a good squad the way it is, but I am also a little bit scared that Aiden Irving's going to start to drop off soon and retire probably in the next few years just because he was a good steal. A lot of the time when you get really good steals, they end up retiring at like 35 years old. So Aiden Irving could only have maybe a few more years left of his career. Zacharias. Anything else on the block? Chaz Lucius, another former player that was there for our first cup win, but never after that, I think. Yeah, I think he actually won the Conn Smythe with us, if I remember right. Jake Sanderson's on the block at 35 years old. So some pretty good players, but a lot of them are past their prime. So they're not really worth bringing in. What else we got here? Wow, Philadelphia was offloading some good players, which is kind of surprising after that good season. So who knows how Philly's going to do the season after they were doing so well. Because obviously last year they won the President's Trophy. We did not. So maybe we'll be the favorite to win it again. Dennis Palin on the block is funny as well. Obviously Dennis Palin was here for a couple cup wins as well. Great DFD. But overpaid. So there's that. I think that's almost all we wanted to take a look at, right? I wanted to take a look actually quickly at our roster here. I wanted to go to Aiden Irving because I did see that he has 1,000 career points now, but I want to see if he's dropping at all. He's an exact top 6. I don't think he ever was exact elite. But yeah, he's got exactly 1,000 career points, which is awesome. 559 goals, 441 assists. Playoffs, he's over point per game, which is insane. Yeah, it's hard to say if he's going to retire soon, because him being a third-round pick, I feel like he's definitely going to retire maybe at 35, but he could be one of those guys that surprise us and go to 36 plus. So, because we are definitely getting up to the stage where we're getting to be an older team. Like Wilson's already 29, and you have like Jaqueezi, Bickle, who are both 28, Scarlett, Hurd that are 28. Vandermeer's only 27 too. But this team is definitely not as young as they used to be. We do have some good future pieces, though, like Blunden, who's only 22, Walter, who's only 21, Timmins is 21, Hansen's 22. So, at least we do still have a good youth movement on this team, but it does suck that a lot of those guys that have been on all those cup teams are starting to drop off in terms of their age and or not drop off in age, drop off in overall probably eventually and potential because they are all getting into their 30s. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to free agency. We'll see if we make any huge signings or not. We probably won't. We'll probably just sign a depth defenseman. And then we'll start up the year whatever simulation, the 2038-39 season. See if we could go for a three-peat and for a sixth cup, or not a sixth cup, a fifth cup in the last 6 years. Because if we could do that, that would be insane. This team's already a dynasty, so it would be just nice to keep on getting more cups if we can. But obviously just going to keep running this team as much as possible until we run it into the ground, so to speak. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.